I'm the same way. Like, aviators just don't fit the shape of my face.
They don't fit my bulbous skull.
I hear that a lot.
They just pop right off the top.
They don't work with my face.
I have one pair that I call them my happy glasses because they're like slightly blue. So like, even if it's a little cloudy, it just looks like perfect blue skies.
Tara, I love you, but it's going to be a problem if you keep deciding you want to chime in on this shit.
Actually, I am. Well, hey guys, what's going on here? River Sullivan coming at you right here, right now, yet again, pre-recorded for your live listening pleasure for the opening episode of Season 5, Episode where I am your host, River Sullivan, and with me, starting off is my interim, maybe? Could be full-time, could be you?
Perhaps.
Co-host, the man who is not the myth nor the legend, because that man, myth, legend is Scott. He's a man who's a legend all of his own. A man with steely eyes and a bad fucking attitude, and I love it. My new interim co-host, don't worry, we're going to work on the intros here as the season goes on. I'm just shooting from the hip, so Dave.
I'll do it until I die, or you find somebody better.
What was that from?
I don't know.
That was a movie. It was
a movie.
Damn. I know it. Starship Troopers.
Sure.
Got it. It's Roughnecks. And also here with us, hearkening back to my first real interview episode, a man that is a true legend in the music industry now, and hopefully I will be seeing him with his lovely pewter hands being plastered on to the Hollywood Walk, and maybe a little kiss onto that cement. Chris Rabideau, everybody.
Hey, what's happening, guys?
Of the breathing process.
Thanks for having me.
That is correct, right? I said that right this time.
That is correct.
I didn't call it the breathing treatment.
Yes.
How you been, man?
Great, dude. Great.
Good to have you back on the show. Thoughts on our setup here?
Dude, first of all, the setup is ridiculous. The vibe in here it's rustic, it's sexy.
If Wrong Turn was a porno, it would have been like right here.
Yeah.
And I just realized, too, that my neighbor is cutting grass with his like Boeing 747. So I'm really hoping the audio will be able to get cleaned up off that. But
I was told we wanted to hang out in the mountains and talk about things that might live in the mountains.
Like me?
Not things that you would expect.
No, like really weird things.
Oh, really weird things. Like, I know that...
I was told that River Sullivan wanted to talk about cryptids.
That's true, yes.
Wanted to talk about...
I thought we were just going to ease into that. I didn't think we were just going to...
No.
Just jam our
there's
collective shaft
there's
right
no way.
into the conversation.
Yeah, we're going to go right into it because there's a lot to be said, a lot to be explored.
Oh, yeah.
So
no,
we can't.
We're going to straight raw dog it right in there.
Can't, yeah.
Okay, so I don't know
we'll plug
a lot
later.
about the cryptid... What is it? Cryptozoology, they call it. Which also, one fun fact I do know is cryptozoology being the study of semi-fake, not sure if it's real creatures, right?
Yes.
Right.
Did you know that cryptozoology brings in $140 million a year to either it be tourism or the research?
Yeah, and
I
that's we
I'm in the wrong
I bet
career.
you.
Maybe we want a little bit of that.
I bet you that's a big part of because of the internet.
Yeah, but I mean, to think that there's somewhere out there's somebody that has a job that's going to go out and go, I'm going to go look at this, the make-believe monster that we're not sure if it's real, but people are going to give me grants and money and donations to go out there and find out.
Sure.
Somebody has a paycheck for that.
Sure.
I'll go camping and look for things that don't exist for,
That's what I mean. I'll do it too. I mean,
50,
wrong
60K. I'll do it.
So, I want to hear a lot about the cryptids because I don't know a lot about the cryptids.
As a resident of this great state that we call West Virginia, you would probably be surprised to know or find out that we actually have a lot of cryptids that are native to our little area.
The mountain state.
The mountain state.
The only one I know is the Mothman.
Right, the Mothman. We've
Yeah.
got the
And then
We've got the Grafton monster, the Flatwoods monster.
Flatwoods, yeah, that's the Praxi something.
Yeah, Braxy.
Braxton County.
Yeah, Braxton County
Ah,
monster.
words,
It's the
I'm good.
Flatwoods monster. But the most interesting by far, and the one with the most, I guess, reputable evidence behind it would be the Mothman.
Yeah, Point Pleasant, if I believe.
Yes.
A lot of strange happenings
Whole
in that
lot of
area. Period. If you really look into it, you have the Mothman history, and then you have everything with the UFOs and the Men in Black, the Indrid Cold story.
There's a lot that goes into it.
It's like a weird. There's also a place in Massachusetts, I believe, that it's a triangle of paranormal. It's really got it all. It's got some of the gnarliest haunted houses, some cryptid sightings, and also some UFO phenomenon, all happening within a generally small square mile place. So people are suggesting that there's these places all over the world that kind of attract this trifecta of weirdness. It's one thing to have a haunted house, that's pretty wild enough, but when you have a place that's experiencing every sort of weird phenomenon, not really at the same time, but like in stages over the period of years.
Like when you just have a couple hundred square miles where high strangeness that's just an everyday occurrence.
Yeah.
I don't know why, but that took me
It
back
just
to when you were
piles
telling
up.
me about when you went to Canada. And you had that venue that was like a hospital.
It was an
And
old school.
Old school, that was right.
I
Yeah.
love that story.
And then the angry, like the creepy 7-year-olds with the
Oh,
beds.
it was a
sticking
gang.
out.
The Utes.
It's a gang of kids who
those
haven't
crazy
even
Utes.
They're all juiced up.
Dude. At first I thought it was funny, and then my buddy looked at me and was like, we need to get out of here. So we did. We didn't even take a chance. But yeah, I mean, in West Virginia, it's got its fair share of crazy paranormal things, and that's not hard to believe when you think about how old the Appalachian Mountains are, and this is really an ancient place. And when you go out into the cut, you understand that. You understand how old everything is. I mean, you don't have to go far from here to the Hemlock Trail and see those trees that, generations upon generations of people hold.
Yeah, I mean, there's an old saying that I heard. Well, not an old saying, but a saying that I heard about the Appalachian Mountains. That I'd always heard people compare like the Appalachians and the Rockies and stuff like that. The Rockies are bigger and this and that. But the Appalachians, the reason that they're lower and smoother and rounder is because they're older.
They're
Eroded through time.
much
They've
older.
eroded through time because they're resettling back into the earth. And I can't remember. I want to say it was on the old Facey Spaces. Somebody said, you render all due customs and courtesies to the Appalachians. You give them the damn respect, the respect.
Respect
Give
your
them the
elders.
respect that they are deserved.
R-E-S-P-E-C-T. Sorry, you can edit that out.
I'm leaving it all in. The respect that they deserve. That's my neighbor. I got one neighbor here on the mountain, man. I know they're hearing that.
It's okay.
But yeah, respect the mountains.
But yeah, it's just an ancient place, and the natives believed in a lot of strange things existed. It was a part of their culture, part of their storytelling that they would pass on. The shaman revered some of these entities, which kind of going a nice connector to the Mothman is that the origin story of it, maybe a lot of people don't know. They know about the Point Pleasant phenomenon and
So
the
for
sightings.
people like me, or we'll just say for our audience, definitely not for people like me because I'm totally knowledgeable about this, but let's just pretend that I know nothing about the origins of this.
About the Mothman.
Well, it all
Regale
starts
me.
with Richard Gere.
It's a good start.
And the chick from Jurassic
And they
Park.
all had a weird red eye. It was a bad optometrist, wasn't it?
I couldn't tell you.
I don't know. Anyway.
So yeah, they say that the origin story of the Mothman actually comes from a curse brought on by a shaman chief. He was a warrior chief, and he was greatly respected not only in the military but the religious communities. He was considered a savage but also a healer at the same time, and a man of great wisdom. His name was Chief Cornstalk. And after feuding with the migrating Europeans over the confluence of rivers that meet at Point Pleasant. He went to the fort under a guise of peace with his son, and they were captured and murdered. Like tortured and murdered when they were supposed to be discussing peace negotiations during a very hostile and bloody time. And
So it was a damn dirty trick.
yeah, so they duped him in under a flag of peace, and they ended up just murdering. And they actually murdered Cornstalk's son in front of him first.
No shit.
Yeah,
I did not know this.
yeah, they murdered his son first, and then they, of course, Cornstalk tried to defend himself the best he could. They jacked him up pretty good, and with his dying breaths and last moments of life, he put a curse on the land that it would not bear fruit, that it would never be successful, and that, the land would essentially be blighted on the earth. And it would be a place of no hope. And when you look at it now and you think about what he said and what the core of a place like Point Pleasant is, kind of a place forgotten about.
I don't want to make light of this, but that sounds a lot more like Logan County.
But yeah, a lot of West Virginia, a lot of West Virginia.
I'm sorry.
That
I'm
could
sorry.
be said
I'm
about.
going to shut up now.
But
A lot of the towns in this state, I mean, you
But the
drive through,
curse.
they're old. It's just not like in the grand scheme of age of land and its time in and of itself. You look at a lot of the way that a lot of West Virginia towns are, and it might have something to do with the fact that we've been bleeding a populace as a state, but they just feel like just old, like just
Right.
worn, like older
Oh,
than
yeah.
they should be. Like all of our towns, really, like the small towns you drive through there, got some city miles on them, just dilapidated, just looks like something out of The Last of Us. Like,
Oh,
yeah.
it's just ready. It's just
it's not far behind.
throw a zombie in there, and you're like, it looks perfect.
Now,
Yeah.
Chief Cornstalk,
Yeah.
when he came to this meeting, did he have his whole tribe with him, or was
No,
it just
I mean,
like an envoy?
he went just I think with his son and maybe a couple of other people just to do this peace negotiation, and they turned on him and essentially captured and murdered the both of them, all of them. And with his last moments of life, this warrior shaman cursed the area in which he was fighting for.
Do they know what was ever
Wow,
in
that
the
sucks.
curse, like what he said or anything? Because I think that would just, if anybody knows, I thought that would be really cool to know.
A lot of the specifics aren't really known, except the fact that they emphasize the fact that it would be a place of no hope, and that the earth would be blighted of prosperity.
And how does that all fit in with the Mothman lore?
Well, the thing is that
Well, I guess it's not just the Mothman. It's like the
it's
Silver
the
Bridge.
story, right?
Okay.
It's the collection of all these things, all these unfortunate events that seem to plague this one spot that's allegedly cursed. So it may seem unrelated, and it's like, oh, well, was this monster born of this curse? I'm not necessarily saying that, but I'm saying that I think it's a very strange coincidence that all of these things seem to be happening in the same area. And then you talk about the UFOs, the Ingrid Cold, the Smiling Man. They say that they were spaceships so big that they would blot out the sun that were seen there. Independence fucking Day style.
Yeah.
Imagine that. You're in the backyard with your family cooking out on a Sunday afternoon by the pool, and then it just gets dark for no reason.
We had something like that in the news a few years ago. There was like cloud coverage that had moved in, and everybody's like, "This, I'm waiting to see what breaks through the cloud," because it just nobody knew what it was.
Yeah, the Mothman itself is, potentially a result of this, foretold omen, which, going into what you said, Dave, a foreteller of terrible things to come.
Right.
Those who have experienced it tend to not do well in life afterwards. Not that it kills them right away, but they simply slip into madness and just can't seem to come to grips with what they've experienced. And yeah.
So how long
Man,
between though? Sorry to cut you
Oh,
off there.
you're fine.
How long from the time that old Chief Cornstalk laid down the curse until our first recorded incident of Mothman or blight?
I think about 100 years.
It was a long time.
So that's what I'm trying to figure out. Is, I mean, I'm not one to shun or shit on the supernatural. Like I truly believe in it.
Right.
But to have somebody tied in there and have like a century later it comes back and they go, well, 100 years ago this chief laid down a curse and that's probably it.
Right.
You see where I'm trying to figure this out?
Sure, absolutely. And I'm not saying that these things are true, but
the
I'm
only
just
thing I
saying
know
that
about the
these
Mothman
are
was like the 40s, 50s, 60s era that was
right.
all at Point Pleasant.
That's kind of when it came around.
So, like there was kind of a huge gap. Like,
Huge gap.
Like if this was a series, like if we were watching like a Star Wars or Lord of the Rings series, you'd be like, man, there's kind of a plot hole. There's a big gap in here.
Right.
When am I getting the prequels to fill in this gap?
Right. Well, what's weird is the Mothman really didn't show up until after they abandoned the TNT plants.
And Nitro.
Right. They outside of Point Pleasant, there's a series of these bunkers that were storing hazardous chemicals related to explosives from World War II.
Yeah,
they were manufacturing.
They were manufactured just maybe 40 miles away in Nitro and Hurricane.
Right.
Yeah, Nitro, the town, is literally named.
Yeah,
that
I know the town
because they made a whole lot of nitroglycerin.
No shit, I didn't know.
A lot
I
of
did
bang
not know.
bang.
Yeah.
I've always heard of the town Nitro. I've been through there. Never knew that's why it was named that.
Yep, it was a huge weapons manufacturing area during World War II, and then when they had all this stuff stored up, and the war ended, the town died.
Right.
I love learning things, and I'm not expecting to learn things. It's it's wonderful.
Learn a couple things here and there.
So, in addition to the Mothman, there's been sightings of all kinds of weird animals, and a lot of that can be attributed to mutations and being exposed to all these nasty chemicals that are leaking out of these less than sound fortifications
Yeah,
used to store the stuff. So,
which our state is kind of
notorious for. Yeah,
we've been
some
on
of
the
best.
radar a couple times for
Some-
a couple deadly
the best.
leakages here and there.
but
I think it's strange that the Mothman is portentous. Like we discussed before the podcast, he seems to show up as an omen before the Silver Bridge disaster.
right.
Like right before, I think 50 people, like 51 people, I think died when that bridge collapsed.
Wasn't that like on Christmas Eve or like 2 days before Christmas?
It was horrible. But it was only like a few days before that the
presents were floating in the river.
Dude, I didn't know it was on Christmas Eve, and I definitely didn't know that many people died in it. I always remember hearing that there was a bridge that collapsed. It was the last sighting of the Mothman, and then that was it.
Yeah.
Right.
It ramped up. There was a lot of sightings for a while.
Do we think that was a Men in Black thing at the end of it to stop it, or
There might be some evidence to suggest.
Well, people say that when they went to the press about their experiences, that they were visited by the Men in Black.
Okay, back then, Men in Black. Do we think that was a reference to the FBI, or do we think this is still like a ghost branch, ghost arm of the government?
It was the Blues Brothers.
They were on a mission from God, sir. How dare you?
It just seems super shady. They don't seem, a visitation like that doesn't seem there's going to be like a lot of identification involved.
Yeah.
You're going to get rolled on, man.
I mean, was it the Transformers movies had that guy from Oh Brother where there was like District 11 or something, and he's like, never heard of you. You never will. Like I'm trying to, is it something like that? Or, because I mean, back in those days, the FBI, like that was the man.
Yeah.
Like that was like those guys were pretty much like secret
J.
agents
Edgar
back then.
Hoover.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think if the FBI was the man,
They were the
then
predecessor to the
these
CIA.
guys would be the man's old man.
That's what I mean. So the FBI though, they were around. The CIA was like born out of the FBI, wasn't it? And then I believe the NSA was born out of them.
Something like that. But before the FBI and the CIA, we had the OSS, and I think a lot of different intelligence agencies for foreign and both
OSS,
and domestic.
They had Captain
Things.
America. Yeah.
Yeah, I love that historical documentary that Marvel put out.
It was. Thank you, Disney.
But the Men in Black just seem to be,
Kind of a ghost agency.
yeah.
Where
like-
are they from? Are they even with the government? Are they fucking aliens?
Yeah,
Like,
I don't
who
know
knows?
if you guys have ever seen the show Fringe, but they're like
Great show.
they're like the
Yeah.
Watchers.
Yeah.
You know, they're just any area of high strangeness, they're just there.
Right.
No matter what, if they're not there at the time, they're going to be there pretty quick afterwards.
The old man, though, in that show Fringe, have you seen Fringe?
No.
The old man that was in Fringe that was what's-her-face's dad or whatever. He's this brilliant, like, scientist, but he's been in an insane asylum forever. He's just kind of had nervous breakdowns so much. He's just fried. But somehow they get him out and, like, they get him working for the government to do all this research and everything. This is extremely, like, the paraphrase version. I love that dude. He was in Lord of the Rings. He was the steward of Gondor. But that dude has got the coolest voice.
Isn't that Lance Henriksen?
I want to say...
No. Lance Henriksen was Bishop in Aliens.
Right.
But like I don't know why, but in Fringe, he loved that candy or whatever. But like just hearing his voice, he'd be like, "Ooh, licorice, love licorice." Like I think anytime he said licorice, I just started laughing because he's got a cool voice.
Well, I had no idea that the Mothman...
Well, you and my tangent.
I'm sorry.
So,
you want to talk about candy or
Licorice.
You want to talk...
Yeah.
It's licorice. Get it?
I'm
Say
trying
it right.
to get us back on the damn
Say
rails.
it right.
Licorice?
No.
Yeah.
Licorice.
Yeah, in order to
Say
talk about the Mothman,
just
it's important to understand how weird the area that it's seen in is. I think that's relevant. It's just not some place where nothing else ever happened. There's a series of terrible things happen, and what we know about hauntings and the paranormal is they're usually spawned from terrible things. And this was a place built on genocide. A lot of native people were killed.
Yeah.
A lot. Because it was forced, that place was taken. It was at a confluence of two major player rivers. And, they were going to get it one way or another. As we saw with the Cornstalk happenings, there would be no peace. So it's it's bad omen.
Speaking of your the Cornstalk, I believe I heard you say that you had done a song about the Cornstalk.
In my old band, that's kind of how I found out about all of this.
Yeah.
Was stumbling upon a documentary about the Mothman, and it talked about all of this. It talked about just the weird happenings of the area.
See, I had no
paints-
idea that there was a connection between the Mothman and the First Nation. I really had no idea about that.
And it's not that it was foretold or anything like that, but, a series of terrible, unfortunate things happened. After the Cornstalk murder, even a lot more people got murdered before all of that was resolved. Then after that, I believe that there's a series of floods that also destroyed the area over the years that probably fill in the gaps that you're talking about.
Mm-hmm.
It's a place of natural disaster and
So it's a good place
engineering disaster and the paranormal and
good place to be from.
yeah.
Not
I met a
currently
kid in college
living
from
at.
Point Pleasant, and he was all about this.
Was he like, I was born there, but I got out as soon as I could? And
Well, he was in college at the time, but he went right back. I don't know what to think about the cryptids, honestly. I have an open mind, and I want to believe.
the only one I ever really heard of, other than Mothman and like the non-local West Virginia ones,
Yeah, just any just anything about it. Do
Bloop.
you have any personal relationships with any of these?
Bloop.
Bloop?
Have you ever heard of Bloop?
No.
Do you mean the bloop?
Sure. It's like a whale.
Oh yeah, the bloop.
The Bloop. Yeah.
Yeah, a bunch of was it National Oceanic and Atmosphere?
Yeah, some people from NOAA, yeah, like they got a bloop on the
Yeah.
radar, the sonar, and it was way down. Like they were listening through with sonar through the ice that they drilled through, and just pinging sonar, I guess, trying to hear whatever they could, get whatever sonograms they could, and they got a bloop back from just a severe depth that nothing should exist, apparently, according to science at whatever time, and it was this massive reading of just what they think is a whale, but they're not sure, but they can't prove it. But if they scaled it, the scale that was done was like they used like a blue whale, which is probably two of these buildings that we're
Isn't it
sitting
the
in.
biggest creature on Earth?
Yeah, the blue whale?
Yeah.
It might be. I don't know, but it was massive. But then there was like a 2-scale rendition of what the bloop would be at, and it's like 10 times the size of a blue whale.
Dear God.
Man,
Well, I don't want to burst your little bloopy bubble over there, but I actually know a little bit about this, and there was no way to actually triangulate where that noise came from because it was registered on like almost every NC like microphone that they had, and they actually figured out that it was probably because, let's use Occam's razor here, a humongous chunk of a glacier or an iceberg fell from a cliff into the water and caused the bloop.
That's what I hear.
Very possible.
But also, Roswell was just a weather balloon then.
Aliens.
No, just a weather balloon. Occam's razor.
I think something just pooped a great big poop into the ocean and then went bloop. And
You don't ever go to the bathroom have a nice bloop?
So,
Bloop. Ah,
what is your stance on the whole cryptid thing in general, River?
I believe that there are certain things out there, like the whole list of cryptids is now growing. I mean, I went on the old Google box there, and I think I stopped at like 70. I was just scrolling through them. Like, there's 70-some cryptids out there, at least that I went and said, okay, that's enough. There are many animals out there right now that are proven to exist that were once thought of as cryptids. And I want to say one was just as simple as like years and years ago, it was like a peacock in the jungle that they said it was this man-eating thing with colorful feathers, and they went, oh, look, it's peacock. We proved it existed, but it's nothing like what we said it is.
Right.
Like the Mothman. Was the Mothman real? I don't know. But I remember as a kid, I read books on it talking about melted
It's supposedly
steel
also
and-
been seen like all around the world. That's also important.
the Mothman?
The Mothman.
I know that Great Britain has a similar story called the Owl Man.
Yeah, there's all kinds of strange Birdman stories all over the world. India. I mean, when it spans the globe like that, I think there's just something to be said about that. And we're talking about ancient cultures that knew the natural world, were very close to the natural world in a way in which that we could not understand.
Yeah, we can't compare to that.
Yeah, we cannot understand. So
we see the natural world on our phones when we're surrounded by them.
when their wise men tell
kinda
stories of these things, there's something to be said about that.
No, don't get me wrong. Like I said, I believe that some of these cryptids that are out there that are listed.
Yeah, they're not all real, I'm sure.
I believe there are ones though that are. Like,
Right.
I mean,
So, a little backstory here. This isn't about the Mothman, but just in cryptids in general. My father is from upstate New York,
like
right on the Vermont border.
like Rochester.
No, we're way more north than that. It's in a small town called Mineville.
I was gonna say Rochester's the sticks.
Yeah, no, it's way more sticky than that, bro. Way more
The stickiest of the sticky.
Way more sticky. So there's this lake called Lake Champlain, and it's like 50 miles long. It's massive. And at one point in our geological history, it actually was a big, like, cape in the North American continent. But, through geologic shifts, it kind of closed itself in, and through time, it became a freshwater lake. But it has the depths of the ocean in parts. It's just absolutely massive.
Really?
Right.
Like how deep are we talking?
Like, it's not been fully explored deep.
No shit. Okay, that's terrifying.
Right. Like and when you get there and you see it, you then understand why it does not look like a lake. The way that the water moves, the way that it's not dirty, but it's just black in like depth.
Wow, that's creepy.
It's really a sight to behold.
It's a singularity filled with water.
Right. And my grandmother lived 2 miles from the bank of this thing, so we would go all the time and be swimming in the water and stuff. And there's like a nice little recreational beach area that was nearby that we would go to, and of course we would never go out. I would never dare to really go out and swim in it. Like, I would wade in it, but even as a little kid, I didn't.
As soon as you can't touch bottom.
Yeah.
Come on.
I didn't even really get like much further than like the belly. Once we got to like the waist, things started to get a little dicey, and I didn't. It's time to rein it in.
There's a legitimate phobia about swimming in water that you can't see the bottom.
Yeah, you're welcome. Hi, how you doing?
Yeah. It's just an abyss. It just looks like an abyss.
I don't know what's down there, but I'm pretty sure it's monsters.
Right. Right.
Story of my life. No.
And my Aunt Julie claims to have seen it.
Really?
Seen what?
So there's a monster that lives in this lake, Lake Champlain, allegedly, that's very similar to the Loch Ness monster, a potential plesiosaur relative, and they call it Champ. There's actually a really big billboard by the lake, like inducted to this thing and the history of it, and there's all these famous photos of it, and it lists all the sightings in chronological order once they've been like verified through. They have some system in which they verify the sightings, like it has to be observed by multiple people and, you know, recorded with the DNR, and they have to kind of clear it to make sure that it's something that it can't be explained away. So you know, there's this board, and it's real in this community. I can tell you that for sure, being a place that my dad was from and having visited many, many times.
So they're all
growing
on
up.
board.
Like, it is well known in that community that it is just a thing.
Yeah, it kind of makes me think about
and it's accepted, and it just is.
Kind of makes me think about the documentary that came out many years ago that's now like, I believe it's all YouTube clickbait, The Secret, where we have positive brain power over our environment, where you can literally will anything into being by just believing hard enough. You ever watch the documentary on The Secret?
So I think what you're talking about would be a tulpa.
What I mean is to be able to utilize brain power. If enough people believe something is real through that concentrated brain power, you can make it real.
Right.
This is all concepts. Personally, I don't believe it, but just something out there.
It's pretty crazy.
The Secret.
Yeah.
Look at all the
And that's
UFO
possible.
sightings that happened as soon as we started reading sci-fi books about UFOs.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. So yeah, it's a real thing. I mean, there are communities that recognize that these weird things exist, and they just embrace it. Why? Because they know someone that they love and that they trust that wouldn't make it up. Like, honestly, if you knew my Aunt Julie, she's so fucking no nonsense. Doesn't give a fuck about your attention or what you think. Like, she has absolutely no reason to make this story up. And my father would berate her all the time about it. Be like, don't listen to your Aunt Julie. She's been drinking again. like. And I remember a meltdown one time where, you know, they all kind of laughed at her about it. And she, you know, she said it just wasn't a fucking joke.
Yeah.
There was something to that. She believed that it had happened.
Yeah.
And her story is more or less, they were out on a small little boat, kind of, you know, not out too far, and they saw something kind of like in the water, but they're like, man, that's a really big fucking fish. And like, all of a sudden they just see this huge fucking tail. This huge fucking tail essentially like whipped by the boat.
Like
so much
out,
so
out
that
of the
it
water,
like,
or like
it was like nearby the boat in the water, and it was so forceful that it like moved the boat without contact. Like the force of the water and the movement like moved the boat.
So it created an actual wake. That moved,
Right. So much so that
just when I was going
her
to get my
friend fell
kayaks
out.
back
Her
out.
friend fell out of the boat.
What?
Yeah, her friend fell out of the boat. I mean, she was quickly pulled in and nothing happened, but I'm sure for a couple of seconds that had to be pretty hairy. But yeah, man, it's just there are these places where these weird happenings are happening. What is your history of ghosts? What do you think about ghosts?
Ghosts, I believe, are real. Absolutely.
I think Appalachia's a hotbed of ghost stories. A lot of
Not as
people
much
don't
as
know.
Japan. And I feel like, didn't we talk about this before a little bit when the first time I had you on the show? We talked about some ghostly things a little bit.
Yeah, we I think we kind of just brushed upon some
Did I
ghost
tell you
stories.
about the ghost I had in a area I worked in the military?
Yes, that is correct.
Yeah, with the Humvee,
Right.
with the handprints. Yeah, okay.
Right. There's just some places that have been claimed by things that maybe you can't see them all the time, but you can feel them.
Because, like, for me, that incident for me was what concreted my belief in ghosts, because
Yeah.
it was such a hotbed area to where it killed your radios. Like, you couldn't communicate with each other.
Right.
Because it was a literal dead zone.
Right.
There's just certain little spots. Like, they weren't very big. It was just areas that just, you know, radio just would not work. You couldn't transmit. You couldn't receive. Nothing.
That's a common denominator, paranormal activity. Electronics start to fail.
I received
Batteries
in my dead
start to
zone
bleed.
once.
What? What?
I don't want to hear about your freshman year.
Hey, college was crazy.
Something about in your dead zone?
I said I received in my dead zone.
What about you? What about you, Dave? What do you think about ghosts?
I don't really believe in them.
Right.
I believe more in like a alignment of separate dimensions, and I guess it would be
You're a
considered
multiverse kind of man.
Yeah, it'd be more considered the veil,
Sure.
I guess, where there might be something, a separate dimension that is
Happening at the same
just
time.
like very closely aligned to us, that at sometimes you might see some weird shit. But I
Right.
also know that even certain sonic vibrations can literally vibrate your eyes and brain in a certain way that you will see shit. You will see apparitions.
Sure.
Just because, somebody's got a brown note going or something like that.
The elusive brown note.
Like I had a fart one time
Never just
that, I mean, I thought I saw God.
Yeah.
It wasn't. It was the mailman.
You're right. You're right over there, Rab.
Tis the fuzzy bubbles.
I didn't try to.
Wrong hole.
No, I mean, I've had experiences seeing things that I couldn't explain, but I can't. I wouldn't necessarily label it as anything supernatural. I think it was just my brain trying to make sense of something that I couldn't exactly piece together.
Sure.
We make shapes into faces when we look at even the boards on the walls. We see faces where there are no faces. We our brains.
It's like looking at clouds.
Right. We see things that aren't there because our brain is trying to make sense of things. Not to discount anybody's experience with anything like that. I haven't had anything that concrete happen to me.
Right.
Plus, I just love a good damn ghost story.
Who doesn't? Who doesn't?
Red-blooded
And
American.
Speaking of ghost stories,
We're good at making ghosts.
Historically, I myself have not been a believer of the afterlife period, much less ghost stories. History of my upbringing, I just rebelled hard against the whole religion thing.
Yep,
And
me
I
too.
just refused to accept really the contents of it in its entirety. And I loved horror movies growing up, but I fancied myself being that kid where really nothing existed. And, I thought the scares were great, but it was more about a dare thing in terms of that kind of entertainment. I certainly did not believe that monsters or ghosts were really a thing.
Agreed.
So, I fast forward to my freshman year of college. I have a brother and sister twin friends that I grew up with whose parents owned an apartment downtown on Walnut Street, downtown Morgantown. And I'm really sick and tired of living at home, and I have an opportunity to move out and take this place downtown. It'd be really great.
Yeah, get out. Stretch
Get
your
out
legs.
there, stretch your legs, have a little crispy suds, see what happens. And I moved in, and it was great, man. Honestly, it really was. For the first few months, nothing happened. And I remember the first thing that happened, really two things over the course of a weekend that happened that were very strange. One of which is we had a party on a Friday night. I went down Saturday morning to grab, this is back in the old days where we had to listen to CDs for our music. So I had a big booklet of CDs that was down by the player that we were just kind of jamming on all night.
We can't really be that old.
Oh, yeah. We were listening, so I went downstairs to grab the booklet, and I thought I heard someone going up the stairs, which they were concrete stairs, and really, if you ascended them, you were clog hopping.
Right.
It was hard to be quiet going up these particular set of stairs. And I went upstairs, and of course there was nobody there. But I didn't really think much of it because we lived right on the street, and I was just like, whatever.
Yeah, somebody coming, going, somebody going.
Right, yeah, whatever. And then the following night, I had a wallet go missing, which I'm very OCD about where I put my things so I don't lose them. And I put my wallet away in my room. It came up missing. We actually had a bunch of people over, so automatically I'm like, who's the shady piece of shit that caught my shit?
I don't know why you're looking at me right now.
And so I go on this rampage of trying to find out who's responsible for that. I don't find it until a couple of weeks later. Miraculously, it just shows up where I left it. Like somebody was just like keeping it from me, and I had to go through the pain in the ass of going to the DMV, getting another ID made, getting another student ID made. It was a pain. It was a fucking pain in the ass. A new debit card, a new credit card. It was fucking pain in the ass. And it just showed up one day with all of the content still in it. And I was just like, man, that is really, really fucking weird. So after that happened in the apartment, a lot of strange things would happen when I'd wake up in the morning. Like all the furniture was on those pads that are easily to slide around on the hardwood floor.
Yeah, so you don't scratch the floor. Yeah.
Right.
Sure. And I would constantly find that the furniture would be pushed in like a cluster. Like to one side of the room or the other, or in the middle, or whatever the case may be. And I'd always be like, oh, the fuck. Because we would party a lot at our place. We had an old bar in the basement of this building that was operational in the 90s, but it turned into our own personal little party palace. So we were getting lit, having people over all the time. And, you know, I just figured that a couple of people got wasted and we're like, we're wrestling. Like, and
Let's move all the stuff in the middle.
yeah, just move it over.
Enter
Or,
the
you know,
Thunderdome.
or maybe a sleepover
Yeah, we're
kind of
making a pillow fort,
situation.
you know, no girls
yeah,
allowed, I got
whatever.
you, yeah.
Yeah, whatever. So that was very strange. And I'd wake up with the cabinet doors of the kitchen open, the drawers open, the drawers of the
This is some Sixth Sense shit.
the doors of the refrigerator and freezer, microwave, dishwasher. The faucets would be running sometimes. You just wake up and it looked like someone had pillaged your shit. And you're like, what the fuck just happened? Like, who was wasted and like left all this shit on? The oven would turn on all the time. And so a lot of strange occurrences, but we had so many people passing through that you could honestly explain it away.
Yeah,
because
like
I am
you
not
can write it off on some
at this
level.
point, I am not superstitious. I don't believe in ghosts. Fuck all that.
So you're telling me right now, as far as we are in this story, that there is something that does sway you eventually?
Oh, this is just the warm up.
Oh, okay, good. All right. You got me.
I was just telling you about the place.
I like it.
I'm just telling you about the place.
We haven't gotten to the ghost story.
So,
Send it.
ultimately, not long after this stuff really starts picking up, my roommate comes to me with some terrible, terrible dream that she had. She dreamed that when you walk at the bottom of Walnut Street, it literally goes right into the river. It's like a put-in for boats.
Mm-hmm.
It's like a little docking area right by McClafferty's.
Okay.
Because that's what we're talking about. My apartment was just up the street from McClafferty's if you wanted to walk to the old BW3.
So for people that don't know, in the Morgantown area, there's a little Irish pub named McClafferty's that on the road that it sits, there's like a 3-way stoplight, 4-way stop. And if you're driving down the hill, if you pass this bar, you're going into the river because it's just straight down and then into a boat inlet.
Right, correct. So her dream was that she had walked down to the river and there was this man standing there. And she had asked him, like, what was going on. He had turned around and he looked at her as if she was going to scream. But when he screamed, all of his, like, tissue and sinew and everything had just, like, pulled away from his body where he was just, like, some skeleton.
That is the most metal thing I've ever heard.
And then she had heard and felt like this rumbling and presence behind her, and she said it was only like characterized as this black mass. This weird black mass that was very ominous in shape and like changing and moving, but it seemed like living.
Mm-hmm.
The smoke monster from Lost.
Kind of, yeah.
So I've experienced stuff
That
like
is
that in dreams
terrifying.
before. That darkness, that humming, to me, it was always like a buzz in the back of my head is what it felt like. Somebody had a hold of you.
Yeah.
There's just this blackness that was enveloping.
Yeah, so
I've
I
had
was like,
dreams
well,
with
maybe
that.
this is sleep paralysis or some kind of nightmare, you know what I mean? Because there's some things that she's talking about that. But after that, things got really, really bad. She literally, the day after, went to go to class. She put her shoes on. You have to understand that when you walked in the door to our apartment, there was really no natural light in this building because it was a stairwell up to like another little narrow hallway into a door that was ultimately the apartment.
Right.
So if the light wasn't on, it was pitch black. So she goes in there, she's putting on her shoes, fumbling around, and really the only light is like the door to the apartment being open a third of the way. And she said that she could hear, because it was a tile floor, she could hear like the sound of like a foot like pressing on the floor, just like that meat, that wet tissue onto a cold surface, just, you know what I mean?
Yeah, just that
and she looked, and she said that there was like this small woman or like teenage girl, little girl kind of thing that was just kind of like standing there like on the verge of like the light. She could like see her a little bit, but she couldn't, really make out what the hell was going on. And she thought instantly, because we have a door to the street, if it was open, someone could just walk right in. So she was afraid that someone had like broken in. And she said, "Hey, who are you? Like, you can't be in here." And she said that no more did she say that, it just took off running right at her. And she like fumbled with the light and hit the light, and it just was gone. But it got a good like 2 or 3 strides, full tilt, right at her before it was fucking gone.
I'd be reading the parameters of my lease.
Reading the parameters of the capacities to my underwear at that time.
Needless to say,
we are at capacity. Time to throw these babies out.
Needless to say, after that, she didn't stay around much. And my other roommate started seeing someone, so I really was at the apartment alone a lot. And
seeing someone like dating someone.
Right. So she was.
So now you being at the apartment alone, there were these other things like the cabinets and everything. Was that still happening, or?
That was, but then like the activity had changed. Like things would keep going missing, like the wallet did, and then like reappearing in weird places. And I woke up one day, and it was the sound of like someone beating on the door to the street, and I'm like, oh my god, what now? Like, what is going on? And I walk all the way, I get up to walk out of my bedroom, and I hear the door open and close, and it was a big steel door, man, that would really, you could hear it. And you hear what sounds like a couple sets of steps coming up, and at the top of the stairs, other than the hallway into the apartment, there was a door into our like little laundry room area.
Right.
They open that door, and they go in there, and I can hear them talking to each other. It's just like a male voice and a female voice, and I can't really hear what they're saying, but I can hear that they're talking to each other. So I walk through the apartment, down the hall, and when I open the door to the laundry room, there's just nobody there.
Whoa.
Just nobody is there. And that stuff started happening a lot. A lot of footsteps, door closings, hearing people talking, hearing people like yell your name. That's when it got really scary.
How was it yelling your name? Was that yelling your name in a good way, or
like if something was called you, like River? What? But yeah, it's just weird shit would happen like that. Really, really weird shit would happen. And then ultimately, one night, I'm a really light sleeper, and I thought I heard something like opening my closet door in my bedroom. And I kind of was like, admittedly, I was half out of it, and I kind of look over, and I can like see the door starting to open like a little bit.
I'm unloading the magazine at that point.
I'm like, and the only light in the room at this point was like off of a little DVD player that I had that emitted like a blue kind of tint, so you couldn't really see shit. But out of the closet came this little fucking woman that Carly had seen. And at this point, I'd only heard like the story about it. I'd never seen it or anything like that. But the way that her face looked, because she kind of stepped forward a little bit and the light kind of hit the bottom of her face, and it looked like her face was like being choked. Like if you were being asphyxiated and the muscle strain and the way that your teeth looked like they were just going to pop out of your head. That's the way her face looked.
And I get that look sometimes, constipated, but...
And I admittedly ran out of the room. I just got up and fucking ran. I ran so hard towards the door that I collided with it before I opened it. Like no brakes, just let me out of here.
Through the door.
ran out of that. It was like 3 o'clock in the morning, and my roommate was cramming in the kitchen, just studying, working on their shit. And I was like, freaked the fuck out. Like, there's somebody in the fucking apartment! Come on! We're gonna fuck her up! We're gonna fuck her up! I go grab this fucking Michael Myers knife, and I go back in like I'm gonna fucking kill somebody. You know what I mean? Like, at first I was scared, but I was like, nah, fuck this. So I go and I grab that shit, and I go, and there's just nothing there, man. Nothing there. Nowhere to go.
Holy shit.
I feel like I would just stab a pillow anyway, come back and be like, well, the blade was drawn, so blood had to be drawn. Yeah.
I slept in the living room for the next few nights. It took a while before I was able to go.
So you
back
still
and
stayed
sleep
in the place?
Yeah, for a while.
Fuck that. I'm getting a Motel 6 at that point.
So a little time goes by, and then we start renovating a little at the apartment. Some new paint. We tore up the old shitty tile floor in the hallway, and things got really bad then. Really, really bad.
Oh, so they weren't bad before.
Also, this is where the real ghost story kicks in.
So
not the little girl with and then you with the knife. So now
this just keeps getting better.
Now the real ghost story's kicking in.
So Bob Stomped, who played bass in my original band Disillusion Effect, was seeing my roommate Carly, who had the dream at the time, and we were all partying late, and he was kind of always a fatherly, dadly figure. He was just walking around making sure everything was locked up while we were all tucked in, passed out.
Going the rounds, man. I get it.
Making the rounds. He's walking back up those concrete stairs, and he just felt like a presence was like behind him. He's like, it's kind of weird. He just walks up, turns the corner, and he said before he knew it, like, the woman apparition was like at the second or third from the stair from the top, just kind of like nearly an arm's distance from him, like right in his face. And he said that it was like more or less the same thing. Like, he just ran for like the door in the apartment and like put his fucking back against the door and started like freaking out.
I know this guy. This is not a guy that freaks out.
Like, he said he just couldn't believe and process, much like I could at the time. See, when something like that happens,
No, it's all fight or
your
flight.
mind, it is, and your mind kind of breaks.
Yeah.
Because
it can't
there's
handle
no
what's going on.
Yeah, there's no sense to anything that is happening here. And you try to rationalize it, you try to explain it away, especially me. Admittedly, me, like, I just did not buy into this shit. And all this weird shit started getting worse and worse and worse. I remember there was this guy that we used to party with. He used to stop by bringing us party favors every once in a while. He didn't know about any of this, and nearly the same thing happened to him. He was ascending the stairs, he felt something behind him, and then before he knew it, it was on him. He came rushing into the apartment. What kind of fucking game are you playing here, man? Like, who the fuck is out there? What the hell is going on? And we were hungover as balls. This is Super Bowl Sunday when the Steelers played the Seahawks. We were waiting for a pizza and for him to arrive, and we just did not want to deal with any of this. I was not feeling clever that day.
Especially knowing what kind of day you guys were about to have.
And he runs in freaking out, and I'm like, dude, there's nobody there. But I grabbed the baseball bat, we go, and I was like, dude, the door to the bar is like locked. There's no way to get in here. Like, the only way to get in here is this fucking door that you closed behind you. Like, he was like, well, I'm getting the fuck out of here. He's like, don't ever fucking call me again. Like, he's like, I'm never fucking coming here again.
And then we burned the house down.
So one night, man.
Oh God.
This is what broke it for me.
So wait, everything else thus far.
Preamble.
I was able to kind of just deal with it to some degree, because it would come in waves. Like, something crazy would happen, then it would chill out for a little while, and you'd be like, okay, maybe that was the last thing. Nope. And then it would escalate a little.
That'd be all right.
Yeah, and then it would escalate a little. So
just put a little duct tape on.
Seasonal ghostery.
So I wake up in the middle of the night, and honestly, dude, we had a drop ceiling in our apartment with those shitty fucking crumbly tiles.
Ugh.
You know what I mean? I woke up in the middle of the night, and I had a leak in my roof at the time, so I thought one of the tiles had broke, and all the dust and everything had gotten all over me, because when I woke up, I was all choked up, and I really couldn't see shit. My eyes kind of burned a little, like something was like in my face. So I kind of staggered to the bathroom, and I was washing the cold water on my face for a while, and finally was able to like see. And the first terrifying thing that happened was when I looked at myself and looked back, like I wasn't making the same look, and it wasn't me.
Holy
Like there was something, there was like some weird doppelganger in the mirror, like staring me down while I'm like, "Ugh." Like I'm in rough shape, dude. I'm not looking my best at this point, and it's just there. And then the next thing that I know, you know when you're underwater and you get that weird echo concussy kind of sound where you can hear but not really? Everything sounded like I was underwater for a second. And then you could like feel like this weird like electricity, like it was in the floor. And then you just feel like this rush of energy go by the fucking bathroom door and like through the hallway. And it was like this black mass thing. Like this non-form just rush of energy that really it shook the walls. And I'm just there, and I'm not afraid to tell you that I pissed my fucking pants.
I'm sorry. My watch just told me higher stress detected than normal. Would you like to take a moment to relax?
I pissed my fucking pants, and I ran out of there. I ran out of the apartment.
What was on your face? I mean, like
Nothing.
It just felt like there was.
It just felt like it was.
Oh
It felt like something that was in my nose and my mouth and my eyes and my sinuses. And it fucking just felt like, you know, if I would have take some dirt and throw it in your fucking face. That's what it felt like. So I run out of there, and I have no cell phone. I have no wallet.
Not over?
I have no cell phone. I have no wallet. I'm in a pair of shoes, just in a pair of like basketball shorts, free balling it, and a cut-off shirt.
Well, that would never change.
I 1-800-COLLECT, call my mother to come pick me up, and I sit near the old house on Chestnut Street parking garage bench, waiting for her to pick me up, hoping that the cops don't drive by.
Yeah, that would be.
And
bad.
I have to explain to them why I pissed my fucking pants. I'm sitting there in my piss-soaked basketball shorts, waiting for my mother, trying to process everything that happened. Drunk people walking by like, hey, it's fucking homeless fucking guy here. And I'm sitting there like,
yeah, I'm sorry about that, man. I didn't. I had no idea what was going on in your life at that time.
That was enough. I was like, that's it. That's it. Because you're downtown. Where the fuck are you going to go?
Yeah.
It's the middle of the night. Where are you going to go?
Vice versa.
You tell some crazy fucking story to the cops. You're going to Chestnut Ridge.
Yeah.
That or the drunk tank. Like, they're going to draw some blood on that one.
I was out within the week. And I didn't stay there again.
Did you ever find out, like, any history about that apartment?
So, a tenant that lived there years and years before was involved in the occult. And he hosted all sorts of seances and ritual gatherings. And it makes sense because there's all kinds of like weird shit.
Douchebag.
Sounds like you left the door open.
Yeah. Yeah. And there was all kinds of spirits there.
And this is why you always say goodbye when you're done using the Ouija board.
Hang up the phone when you're done talking with the spirits.
I don't know what he actually was evicted because in the drop ceiling and the clear panels where the lights is, he drew all kinds of weird fucking symbols and shit in there.
Probably, it's like Enochian script and shit.
And the landlord, who was my friend's mom, was like, what the hell is this weird shit? You're defacing my shit.
I didn't do that.
You broke your lease. And she essentially evicted him. So he probably did God knows what in his last 30 days of being there. And up the ante. She claims that she found a fucking shrunken head, a real one.
Was there like a flesh-covered book with a face on it at all at any time?
Dude, let me tell you, there was like a little workshop in that laundry room.
Yep, Necronomicon. Yep, I'm good.
There was just a vibe in there, bro. Like, there was just a vibe in there. Not that there wasn't in the whole place.
But you know what? Let's be honest here. In terms of a metal man trying to find his stride, trying to find that inspiration, what a better way than to live months of your life in the most haunted
I
shit
lasted
ever.
7 months. That's it.
7 months of it. Now look at you now. You've emerged. Victorious.
Yeah. Well, I don't know.
My question is,
Inside.
like, all the things that went missing and came back, did you ever consider that maybe they've been inside of a ghost's butt?
Yeah. They smelled funny. They had the ectoplasm. Their slime.
Every time
It's a spooky ghost.
Every damn time that story got scary, I'm like, oh yeah, that is scary. And then, but wait, there's more.
It was a weird. It was a strange escalation, and I finally had enough. And really, to close it out, it changed how I viewed the afterlife and the possibility of what could really be out there. Because I kind of turned my whole reality inside out. Honestly.
Do you believe now?
Yes. I at least will entertain the idea of something weird. I'm not saying that I absolutely believe it, but I'm going to listen to the story and then see what happens.
Oh, I definitely believe, like, there are definitely things in this universe that our little human brains just can't comprehend.
Can't process.
I think there are questions that it's a waste of time to ask, because you're not going to be able to answer it for
Sure.
yourself. You'll never find the answer. Even if you saw the answer, it would probably drive you crazy, because our brains cannot compute the complexity of the things in this universe. Well, that's one of the reasons why I drink.
I just say hi. I'm River Sullivan,
Hi,
and
River.
that's why I drink.
Hi, I'm Dave, and I'm a...
So on a lighter note, I'm
a
playing
drinky
a
hop.
black and death metal
Yes,
band
sweet
called The
black-
Breathing Process.
That's what I was saying, man. 7 months spent inside the most haunted shit you ever seen is, they say that some like writers assume like roles to really put them in the shoes of a character that they're writing. I mean, you're like, well, I just spent 7 months in Satan's butthole / backup safe house. Now it's making me a very successful black death metal.
Came out with a couple lyrics.
Came out
Got
with
some
a
goodies.
Little,
Got some
little
goodies
bit of
out of
just
it.
Got
a
out,
touch
took
of
a shower,
got
put
some
pen to
goodies out of
paper.
just a touch of inspiration. I don't know why. He works through me in mysterious ways. It's just, who's he? I don't know. It's up to you. You decide. But yeah, go ahead.
But we are a black and death metal band from Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania.
Last time we'd spoken, you just got on board with them. Where are we now?
Through the course of the pandemic, we were fortunate enough to be signed by Unique Leader Records.
Hey, all right.
And
Congratulations.
thank you. We have our debut release on the label October 7th. The album is called Labyrinthian. You can check out the debut single right now on your streaming platforms everywhere. It's called Wilt. It features Dade Simonich from Signs of the Swarm, and we're really excited. Shot by Eric DiCarlo. Shout out Square Up Studios.
I cannot wait for this thing to come out.
If you haven't checked out the music video, it's out there right now. And July 17th, there will be a second music video.
I did check out the music video with you in it, and I was very impressed. The old lady who knows I don't normally listen to your music,
Sure.
that style. I was sitting there in my easy chair, just and she's like, "What are you listening to?" I was like, "Look, it's Rab. I know him. He's my friend.
He bartended for us.
He did."
He's not as mean as he sounds.
No, it's
This is really good cinematography. I love the effects.
Eric
everything.
DiCarlo. That's all Eric DiCarlo,
Fantastic
man.
work.
He's was an incredible. We're doing all the videos with him.
And when's your first live show going to be?
We're gonna break the 21-month snide.
Oh, yeah.
August 6th. If you live in North Central West Virginia, come out to 123 Pleasant Street. We will be headlining a show with Grey Walker from the Steel City and Crown Vic from the Ohio Valley. 3 killer bands. It won't go super late. 123 is turning a leaf, and they're getting with it.
That's August 6th.
August 6th. It's a Friday night, so come on out.
So
cannot
21 and up, and covers $10.
So when this episode comes out, this episode will be out, right on 4th of July.
Should be. Yeah.
So first of all,
Happy birthday, America.
Happy birthday,
Yeah,
America.
happy birthday,
Yes.
America.
Yeah.
Cheers. Yes.
Things.
But yeah, man, if you're in the area, if you're in North Central West Virginia, come headbang, because live shows are back. And
I'm gonna have to try to check it out.
you
And
talked about how you couldn't do anything, and now you get a chance to go do something. So
I
go
might
do it.
try
Yeah.
to bring the portable here and see what I can get. Talk to you down there or something like that.
We're
Or
playing a lot of
or-
new songs.
I don't think I've been to a live show since your last live show. So It's been a long time.
So my
and
question
I'm
is, if I
very
were to
excited.
take my recording stuff like this, because I can rock portable and camera and attach to it, if I were to do some on-scene recordations of that,
I think the suits involved with the label might.
that's
have
what I'm
something to
curious
ask
is about.
that.
Is
They
Yeah,
might
you gotta be
have some
careful
questions.
policing
go.
that shit
Yeah,
officially.
I mean,
You know what I mean?
it's not really official. I mean, it's bootleg.
You know what I mean?
I just put it on my Facey Space profile. We'll live stream to the Facebook.
It's a public event. You
Just
know,
come
maybe-
out. You know what?
you know,
Put
maybe
the
got
work
some
down and
fairies,
just
I
come
don't know.
enjoy yourself in the metal show.
Touche.
Have some beers and immerse yourself in the show.
I haven't been to a good metal show in a while. Last time I was in a mosh pit, I had my nose like dislocated. Didn't know that could happen, but it can.
Well, you know, to all
was
the
a
people
fountain
who
of
are
blood.
concerned about that, I do understand the danger of attending the metal show. You just have to understand that there are danger zones in a metal show, and you can't inhabit those zones and expect that those things are not going to happen to you. I know that it sucks. I wish you could just stand there and not get bumped into or get crowd killed or whatever
I'm going to show
your
up in a
scene
pink
does.
polo and flip flops.
Whatever your scene
Cargo
does,
shorts.
but it's important to understand that it's going to happen, and you just need to hang back and maybe just enjoy the show from afar.
Yeah,
Grab
and
a
I
beer,
think
and
the best thing about being
there's
at a
nothing
metal
wrong with
show,
grabbing a beer, and it sounds
Yeah.
better from the back anyway.
there
Acoustics,
are
man.
so many more helpful and wonderful people at metal shows than there are people who
It's-
want to hurt you.
Yes,
Like nobody really want if you're going to a metal show and you want to hurt people, you're in the wrong area because some of those nice guys in that crowd might just find
you got to be careful. You
yeah.
start swinging. There's repercussions to swinging on ground.
Yeah.
There's always somebody that's going to swing back harder.
Oh yeah,
And I learned that.
I married one of them.
But yeah, man, we would we would love to see you. We
He
have
just
a
told
lot
you you were
of
number one twice.
Yeah,
we have a lot of new songs.
That or
we're
I'm
really
number
excited
11.
about.
No, man, I'm definitely looking forward to it. I'm glad to hear that your career is, you're taking off, man. You're signed. You're hitting up in the big league.
yeah. There's just got to be something about like having your name on that contract that
Very
grants
intimidating.
like so much more. Well, I'm sure it is. I can't
Very
imagine,
intimidating.
but it's got to feel like it legitimizes everything that you've been working on for so long.
I
right?
wish I could sit here and tell you that I'm motivated by all the positivity and support that I get, because I do get a lot of that, and I'm very fortunate. That's the way it's kind of always been. My family and friends have always been really great about the things that I do, even if they don't love it. And I will say this. I am friggin' fried, and I lost my train of thought.
And with that, guys, it looks like we are all out of time. we actually are.
What he meant to say is he loves his fans and he can't wait. He can't wait
Oh yeah,
to get
sorry
back.
about that. Sorry, I got derailed because
There's
River
a-
was looking at something in the corner.
Yeah,
I was
there's
like,
a
what is he
It's
lawnmower.
the
doing?
sound of Optimus Prime rolling down the driveway right
Okay,
now.
yeah, that whole charade is really just threw me off
Sorry,
the tracks
I looked
there.
back.
My bad.
I saw the look
and
in your eye.
Did the Tootsie Toots help? No, it did not. But here we are. But needless to say, I love all the support. I love everybody. Thanks for having me. Check out the Breathing Process everywhere. Shout out Jamie Graham at Unique Leader Records. Shout out David Taro. Shout out
That's me.
Eric DiCarlo.
What about River? Fuck River, right?
Yeah, fuck River.
River, he tried to touch my penis one too many times for this. For
He
me
did.
to
He
get
did the same thing to me.
The only thing he's going to get hit with is a lawsuit here soon.
Cancel culture's coming for River.
Yeah, I
2021.
saw-
I'm just kidding.
I saw that
He
little
was a
pinhole
gentleman.
camera in the bathroom too. I'm coming down on
You're
you.
not ready for this setup he has either. It's absolutely spectacular.
Now, definitely, like I said, looking
Should be
forward to
very
when we
proud
can
of
start
it.
filming it, man. Like,
It's going to be spectacular. It's wonderful, man.
But all right, guys, it looks like we are all out of time here for this episode. Thank you so much for being patient here with the time that we took off to enjoy a little bit of our regular lives. Thank you again here for Rab for coming out here. Can't wait to see your career just skyrocket way past anything that you've ever dreamed. It's coming, man. I feel it.
I'm looking forward to living in a van and being sweaty a lot.
Down by the river. Amen.
Amen.
But also, don't forget all the other different ways that it is here you can listen. We are found pretty much anywhere now you can get a podcast. If you have an Amazon Alexa device, please don't fail to hesitate to download the This Evening Tonight Alexa app. All you got to say is, hey, Alexa, play This Evening Tonight. And she will try her very best to oblige. And my God, the tractor in the background and the trucks rolling and the dogs barking. And now I believe I heard children screaming. I love this job.
Burn, motherfucker.
So thanks again for stopping by, guys. Thanks for tuning in. And until we see you here next time on the show, we hope to find you a little bit happier, a little bit healthier, and just a little bit less bitter in life. But until next time, Peace out.
Ooh.
Auf Wiedersehen.